It began just before dawn, June 2nd, 2025. What was meant to be a quiet morning across Sicily's eastern coast turned into a living nightmare. From the darkness above Mount Etna's summit, faint red pulses began to glow, flickering through thick cloud banks and lighting up the early morning sky like an ominous warning beacon. For the people of Catania, Nicolosi, and Zaffarana Etnea, this sight was nothing new. But few realized what was about to unfold. Mount Etna, Europe's tallest and most active volcano, had been silent for several weeks. Volcanologists had noted elevated seismic activity and thermal signatures, but nothing that signaled what came next. By 4:30 a.m. local time, seismic instruments recorded a sharp spike, a violent surge of tremors beneath the surface. At 4:42 a.m., the mountain roared. The eruption began with a sudden, violent explosion from Etna's southeast crater, one of its most dangerous and active vents. A massive column of ash and volcanic gases rocketed skyward, punching through the clouds and reaching heights of more than 6 kilometers. Within seconds, lava fountains erupted from the fissure, spraying molten rock hundreds of meters into the air. Tourists who had ventured up the slopes for a sunrise view were thrown into chaos. Some were recording videos, others taking photos, none of them prepared for what followed. In a matter of moments, visibility dropped to near zero. A wave of black ash swept across the observation areas. People scrambled to descend narrow volcanic trails in darkness and confusion, their path lit only by the distant glow of lava and the flashing beams of emergency responders climbing to meet them. Social media exploded with frantic posts. A live stream from a hiker showed ash falling like snow, coating jackets, cameras, and skin in a fine, choking powder. Emergency sirens echoed down the valleys as local authorities activated evacuation protocols. Search and rescue teams were dispatched immediately. While no fatalities were reported, at least 9 tourists were treated for breathing difficulties and minor injuries from slipping on volcanic scree. By 6 a.m., Catania's skies had turned to twilight. The sun struggled to break through the thick plume of volcanic ash drifting southeast toward the Ionian Sea. At Catania Fontana Rossa International Airport, air traffic was paralyzed. At least 25 flights were delayed, 14 were rerouted, and dozens more were grounded as aviation officials raised the ash advisory level to code red. Visibility on the runway dropped to just a few hundred meters. Meanwhile, the eruption intensified. Thermal imaging captured by the National Institute of Geophysics and Volcanology revealed shocking heat spikes near the crater. Lava was flowing fast, carving glowing channels down the volcano's eastern slopes. At approximately 6:45 a.m., a loud crack echoed through the mountain. A partial collapse of the southeast crater wall unleashed a pyroclastic surge, an avalanche of superheated gas, rock, and ash, barreling into the Valle del Bove at over 100 kilometers per hour.
Aspetta che c'ho anche gli ospiti,
Ma che roba?
It was a terrifying sight, unstoppable, fast, and deadly. Fortunately, this rugged valley was uninhabited, carved long ago by Etna's fury and now serving as a natural buffer for nearby villages. But the message was clear. Etna still has the power to destroy everything in its path. Residents in towns along the base of the volcano began sweeping ash off rooftops and cars. Schools closed, Church bells rang to signal emergency procedures, and city streets grew quiet as authorities warned residents to stay indoors. Volunteers distributed face masks at train stations and bus depots. The air was filled with the sharp, acrid smell of sulfur. By midday, the eruption began to taper. Lava fountains diminished, and tremor activity started to decrease. Scientists monitoring the situation reported that the eruption had entered a passive phase, though minor explosions and emissions were still possible. Still, they cautioned that Etna remains highly unstable. Just because the eruption paused didn't mean the threat was over. For many Sicilians, this eruption was a frightening reminder of the volatile force that lives in their backyard. Etna, known affectionately by locals as La Montagna, is more than a volcano. It is a living presence, a source of fear, but also a source of life. Its rich volcanic soil has made the region fertile for centuries, supporting vineyards, olive groves, and villages that date back to the Roman Empire. People here live with Etna, not in spite of it. The eruption on June 2nd was Etna's 14th major episode of 2025 alone. Scientists say the volcano is entering a new active phase, one that may include larger, more destructive events in the near future. With magma pressures rising beneath the summit and the southeast crater expanding, more explosions may be imminent. Satellite images taken after the eruption show new fractures and minor deformation on the summit cone, evidence that the volcano's structure is still shifting. Despite the destruction and danger, thousands of people continue to live, farm, and work in the volcano's shadow. They've learned to read the signs, the color of the clouds, the smell of the wind, the tremble of the earth beneath their homes. Etna is unpredictable, but she always gives some kind of warning. As evening fell across Sicily, the sky remained gray and heavy with ash. Emergency crews remained on high alert. Schools would remain closed the next day. Flights remained suspended overnight, and yet, amid the haze and fear, there was awe. For those who witnessed it, the eruption was terrifying, but also magnificent, because that's what Mount Etna is, beautiful and brutal, a force of nature that humbles all who stand before her. This is the story of June 2nd, 2025, the day Etna roared and the sky burned over Sicily once again. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.